Well, good evening, everyone. So it's Viola, your nutritionist, and glad to be here with you on this Tuesday before Christmas. I know everyone's excited about hopefully visiting family, friends, and probably some foods as well, and certainly enjoy yourselves. But as we talked a few weeks ago, have a plan in place and a strategy so that you don't overdo it. But again, enjoy, be active, and just be grateful, right, for everybody and everything. So last week we talked about sodium a lot. I demonstrated to you how we can make small changes to reduce the amount of sodium in our meals because with hypertension it is a main contributor to stroke and heart disease, and it's so important to control blood pressure levels. And I thought about it after the fact, where I spent a lot of time looking at those labels with you, but I want to make sure I want to back up now for a moment and look at a food label and make sure that everybody understands how to look at a label, because that's one of those foundational skills that will help you, empower you to make better choices and to know how much of different foods you can have. So tonight in our time, I know everybody's got lots of things on their mind, so I'm not going to talk to you about things not to have and not to do. I'm not your food police. I trust that you can make healthy choices and you'll do well, and you'll be pleased with your eating strategies for the holiday. Might throw in a few things to be sure to incorporate, but I'm not taking anything away tonight. Okay, so let's just take a few minutes to look at a food label. So this is, and it really doesn't matter what the product is because you look at the labels the same way. Okay, so but this is just so that you know it's a veggie pasta. Okay, so here is the nutrition facts panel. So it's really important to first, and I'm just kind of making sure I'm lining up okay here. It's really important, the first thing, to look at the serving size. Okay, whoa, here we go. The serving size of the product, because all of the information on the label is based on that serving amount. It's not based on how much you feel like you want to eat or, whatever amount you eat. It's based on a certain amount. So for this pasta, the serving size is 3/4 cup. Okay, so if you can imagine a cup, but I do have, and that's for cooked. I have to tell you, I ran out of time today. So it's not cooked if you're wondering, but this is what 3/4 cup of pasta looks like if it is cooked. It's not a whole lot. Okay, and I hear it all the time when I'm working with patients with diabetes. They say, oh, I can't eat spaghetti. I can't eat those noodles because it raises my blood glucose way too high. And it always comes back to how much, because this is not a lot. If portion sizes are like this, it's almost a guarantee that it's not going to raise blood glucose levels too high. It's not going to be, because it's not an excessive portion size. But all the information on this label is based on this. So if you eat, 3 or 4 times this, which is definitely not uncommon when people are having a pasta meal, then you have to multiply all of the information on the label by 3 or 4. So now let's get back to that label. So the serving size, we've looked at it, is 3/4 cup. So it's saying in every 3/4 cup, this amount, there are 200 calories. Okay, so let's say you say, I know I have twice that. So that means when you eat your pasta, you're having 400 calories. Okay, and so then in that 200 calories, there is 1 gram of fat. So we know pasta, anything that comes from a plant that's pretty much, that's not been processed a lot, you shouldn't have to worry about a lot of fat in it. So the pasta is plant-based because there's really no fat in plants. You get fat in animal products. That's when you would, if this were, something with some type of meat in it or some type of cheese, that would change the story. Or if it were a pasta like the pastaroni mixes or the pastas that have the seasoning packs with them, then you would see some fat in that. So, if you're working on reducing fat, go for the more whole foods that don't have, a lot of processed ingredients in them. Saturated fat, trans fat, again, all the fats we know are really going to be 0 because there's just 1 gram of total fat in it. So it's what you add to your pastas, right? And so this is something I would encourage you to add. If you're making even macaroni and cheese as your pasta for the holidays or whatever type pastas you like, can you add a healthier fat as opposed to a saturated fat, the harmful types? And we'll get more into fats in a couple of weeks. But a healthier fat would be an oil. So instead of using butter, can you put some oil on these noodles, and particularly like canola oil or olive oil? That would be healthy options. Okay, so the pasta, we see just 1 gram of fat, so it's not a concern. Again, it's just what you'd add to them. And cholesterol also is in plant products, so you're not going to have to worry about cholesterol is not really in plants either, so you won't have to worry about it. It's in animals. Okay, and then sodium, which we talked about last week, just 20 milligrams. Again, if I got out a processed item with that, had those packs, or like oodle noodles, that kind of thing, then you would see a difference. In fact, I wonder if it would be impolite of me to pause, because I know I have one of those packs. 1 second, okay? Just think about, or pull a label. As I'm pulling one more, go and get something out of your pantry and look at it with me. But I'm right here, 1 step away. And that, okay? So I want to kind of show you a difference. Oh, I see a question that came in. So before I get to this next label, how much exercise is needed to work off that serving size? Well, it depends on what kind of exercise you're doing. It also depends on your size, your body weight, your muscle mass. So it's, I'll tell you, like a 15-minute walk, you really don't burn a lot of calories. So, we can look at the calorie balance in some things in future sessions. That's a great question. So, and you can't see this, but I'm just going to share with you in this bag of noodles, and it says the serving size in this package, there are 2 servings in this container. How many people just eat half of this oodles of noodles if they eat them? No, you usually eat the whole thing. So that means everything has to be doubled if you eat the whole package, because there are 2 servings in here. And the total fat in 1 serving is 7 grams. So that means we have to double that. So in oodle noodles, we have 14 grams of fat. In this kind of pasta, a natural pasta, whether it's a veggie one or not, it could be wheat or white or whatever, you'll get that 1 gram or less. So we're already winning if we can do this and add our own oils or seasoning to it. And then if we look at sodium, remember we said for sodium for this one, it's 20 milligrams. For half this package, it's 760. So we've got to double that, because most people are going to eat the whole thing. So you add about 1,500. Remember, for a day, it's 2,300 milligrams per day. So think about, again, less processed things, the more whole. Because processed, they've just added lots of ingredients that are harmful to our health. Okay? All right, so now we get to total carbohydrate. Oh my goodness, and I'm having a hard time with my camera tonight. DJ straight. Okay, so in that 3/4 cup, there are 40 grams of carbohydrate. So carbohydrates, now there are a lot of things that say stay away from them, and they're not bad. And even if someone who has diabetes wanted to eat this, they could have this 3/4 cup of this pasta. I would say, watch out for any breads and other starches that may go along with that meal, because it could cause you to have too much carbohydrate, and then blood glucose levels go high. But 40 grams is a reasonable amount for a meal. Again, minus any breads or things like that you might have on the side. Certainly not the sweet drinks. One of the things I like to always mention when I get to this section, at the total carbohydrates, the dietary fiber and the total sugars, which are always under them, and it also has the added sugars. Those items are already included in the total carbohydrate. So you don't have to say, oh, and it has 3 grams of sugar. If you look at that total, it's already there. And the other point about this is that 3 grams of sugar, someone with diabetes may say, or pre-diabetes working on it, they may say, there's not much sugar in this pasta at all. I can eat a lot of it because it's just 3 grams of sugar. But it's total carbohydrates that affect blood glucose levels. So you have to be concerned with that total number more so than just looking at sugar. So if you're going to look at one thing for blood glucose levels, that one thing should be total carbohydrate. Certainly it's okay to look at sugar, but that's not the full story. Okay? And then in this particular pasta, you get 8 grams of protein, and that's something more additive for this veggie type of pasta. Typical pastas, you may get 1 or 3 grams of protein. Now, let me just look at the ramen noodles while I have them here. And actually the ramens, they're 4 grams of protein per half of it. So eating this whole thing, there'd be 8. So it'd be like the same thing. But again, you're getting a whole lot of other stuff that's going to kind of, outweigh that protein. So that is a good, that's 1 ounce of protein is around 7 grams of protein. So, a serving of pasta this pasta gives you 1 ounce of protein. So that's not bad. And typically you're going to have, some other protein with it. So we've talked about the pasta with a nice oil, or, using a marinara sauce, a red sauce instead of a white sauce, because the red sauces typically don't have much fat at all, but whereas the white sauces are usually from heavy creams or milks, things like that. And then what kind of protein? Let's say some people maybe would, have a vegetarian meal and not include any meat, but maybe have a little cheese on it, or not even have the cheese. But think about, the typical protein that people add with their pasta and sauces is ground beef. But leaner options out there are, ground turkey. You do have to watch the ground turkeys because some of them have the skin ground in. And so if you look at the fat on those labels, it's just as much fat as the ground beef. So if you do like a ground turkey, try to get a leaner one. A lot of times families are mixing now, so they don't want to get rid of the beef or get that beef flavor altogether, but they're willing to do half beef, half turkey to get some additional protein. I think another point here too is that it doesn't take, as much meat often in these recipes as you think. So you can always cut down and not include, that if you're used to using 2 pounds of meat, cut back on it to cut back on some of that saturated fat, because you already get some protein in your pastas and, in other cheeses or things that you may add as well. So these are some of the basics of the label reading. The percentages down the side, like that, like 1% where the fat is, those percentages are really tricky. They're based on if you know that you're eating 2,000 calories per day. What I will say is something that's, they say like 5% or lower, we say it's low in whatever it is. So like total fat, 1%. It's low in fat. And then sodium, 1%. It's low in sodium. Whereas we get to carbohydrate, 15%. We'd say it's higher in carbohydrate. 7% for fiber. It's higher in fiber. So I would just use that just to see what it's high in and what it might be low in. And this particular pasta has a lot of other vitamins and minerals that are always good and helpful for us. So start looking at your labels. Between now and the next time we talk, look at the labels in your house and think about, or in the grocery store if you have time to do that. I know everybody wants to just get in and out of the grocery store these days, but look at the serving size and start looking at what nutrition you're getting in that food. And think about it. Is it worth it to you? We talk to patients often about, the cost benefit. Is it worth it? Maybe sometimes it is if you want to have, that ramen noodles. You can always do some things to them to make them better. So when I said I'm not going to take away anything tonight, if you have those, I'd like for you to add something to them. So if you could add some raw veggies or add some frozen veggies, or if you're using canned, rinse and drain them and put those in. So how can you add some healthy things to them would be, and not, use all of that sodium pack, but use some, if you have some dry herbs and things like that. So think about ways to enhance and add. And that's what for your holiday, I recommend, or I encourage you strongly to, what can you add? Can you add, more veggies, not taking away anything, but, can you maybe add an oil-based olive oil dressing this time? Or can you add, a little bit of lean meat, maybe take away the less healthful ones, but add some good things. Okay. Add some avocado if you like it, add some olive oil, add more color. And again, if you do more color, it's more plant-based. You're not going to see the fat unless you add it to it. You're not going to get the sodium or all those processed items. So that's a little bit on label reading. I wish you well. Merry Christmas to everyone. And I look forward to spending time with you in the new year on healthy nutrition strategies. If you have any questions, please send them in. Happy to discuss what it is you'd like to hear about. And thank you so much. And again, Merry Christmas, happy holidays. God bless. Be safe. Bye-bye.